Now, let's talk about a spice that packs a serious punch. I'm talking about cloves. These aren't just little brown sticks you toss into a holiday ham. They are the unopened dried flower buds of a very particular tree, Syzygium aromaticum. This evergreen, a proud member of the myrtle family, can tower up to 12 meters high, and for centuries, it held a monopoly on its existence. It grew exclusively in a tiny archipelago in Indonesia, known as the Maluku Islands, or as history would famously call them, the Spice Islands. For a very long time, if you wanted cloves, this was the only place on the entire planet you could get them. That geographical exclusivity is the first clue to understanding their incredible value. So, how do you get from a flower bud on a tree to the tiny nail-shaped spice in your pantry? It all comes down to timing and patience, two virtues every good cook should possess. The harvest is a delicate operation. Harvesters must climb these tall trees and carefully pick the clusters of flower buds by hand. They aren't looking for open flowers, they are seeking the buds just as they transform from a pale green to a vibrant pinkish red. This is the precise moment when the bud is at its peak, filled with the essential oils that give cloves their signature power. It's a race against the clock, because if those buds open, their precious aromatic compounds begin to dissipate. Once plucked from their branches, the real transformation begins, powered by nothing more than the sun. The freshly picked buds are spread out on mats and left to dry under its intense rays. Over several days, a remarkable change occurs. The moisture evaporates, the buds shrink, and their color deepens from that rosy red to the familiar dark, rich brown we all recognize. This process concentrates the volatile oils within, locking in that intense aroma and flavor. The final product is a hard, brittle spice that looks remarkably like an old-fashioned nail, which is precisely where it gets its name, from the Latin word clavus, meaning nail. The entire process, from the careful selection of the buds to the sun-drenched drying, is a testament to the labor-intensive journey this spice takes before it ever reaches our kitchens. Each tiny clove represents a moment of perfect ripeness, captured and preserved by ancient techniques. It's not just a dried flower, it's a capsule of concentrated sunlight, tropical air, and botanical potential. Understanding this journey from a specific island tree to a global commodity is essential to appreciating why this little bud was once one of the most coveted treasures on Earth, capable of building fortunes and toppling empires. It's a big story for such a small spice. Let's get one thing straight. For a significant portion of human history, cloves were not just a spice, they were a currency. We're talking about a commodity that was, at times, literally worth its weight in gold. The demand was astronomical. Archaeological digs have unearthed cloves in Syria, dating back to 1721 BCE, proving that an incredibly complex and secretive trade network existed thousands of years ago. For centuries, Arab traders masterfully controlled the flow of cloves into Europe, keeping the location of the Spice Islands a fiercely guarded secret. This created an aura of mystery and drove prices to unimaginable heights, making cloves the ultimate luxury item for the wealthy elite. This insatiable European hunger for spice eventually boiled over and helped kickstart what we now call the Age of Exploration. Monarchs and merchants, tired of paying exorbitant prices to middlemen, began funding perilous sea voyages to find a direct route to the source. This wasn't just about finding a better way to season their food, it was about controlling a global market worth a fortune. When the Portuguese finally located and seized control of the Maluku Islands in the 16th century, they established a brutal monopoly. They went to extreme lengths to protect their prize, even attempting to destroy every clove tree that grew outside of their fortified islands. But a monopoly that profitable is bound to attract competition. In the 17th century, the Dutch arrived, even more ruthless and organized than the Portuguese. They violently seized control of the clove trade, implementing a policy known as extirpation, which involved the systematic destruction of any unauthorized clove trees to restrict supply and keep prices artificially high. The struggle for control over this tiny flower bud led to wars, piracy, and the subjugation of entire populations. The history of the clove trade is a dramatic, often dark tale of globalization, driven by the human desire for flavor, wealth, and power. The Dutch monopoly was eventually broken in the late 18th century, when a daring Frenchman named Pierre Poivre, whose last name fittingly means pepper, managed to smuggle clove seedlings out of the islands. He successfully transplanted them to French colonies like Mauritius and Réunion. From there, the cultivation of the clove tree spread to other parts of the world, including Zanzibar, Madagascar, and Brazil. This act of horticultural espionage forever ended the exclusive control over the spice, causing prices to fall and making cloves accessible to kitchens around the globe. The age of cloves being as valuable as gold was over, but their culinary and cultural impact was just beginning. So, what gives this tiny dried flower bud its room-filling aroma and fiery taste? The answer, my friends, lies in chemistry. Specifically, it's all about a phenolic compound called eugenol. This powerhouse molecule makes up a staggering 80 to 90% of the essential oil extracted from cloves. Eugenol is responsible for that unmistakable warm, sweet, and pungent scent that you can probably smell just by thinking about it. But eugenol isn't just about aroma, it's also a potent anesthetic and antiseptic, which is a critical clue to understanding the clove's long history in medicine. It's a flavor, a fragrance, and a functional compound all rolled into one. Now, let's bring it into the kitchen. The assertive flavor of cloves means a little goes a very long way, a lesson every baker learns, often the hard way. Used judiciously, it provides a deep, warming complexity. In the sweet world, ground cloves are a non-negotiable ingredient in gingerbread, pumpkin pie spice blends, and apple desserts. Whole cloves are often used to stud a baked ham or an orange, slowly releasing their flavor into the meat or creating a fragrant pomander. In savory cooking, they are a cornerstone of cuisines worldwide, from Indian garam masala and biryanis to Chinese five-spice powder and Vietnamese pho. They provide a crucial background note that you'd miss if it were gone. But the story of the clove doesn't end in the kitchen. It extends deep into the medicine cabinet. For thousands of years, traditional Chinese medicine and Indian Ayurveda have utilized cloves to treat a host of ailments, particularly digestive issues and respiratory colds. Modern science is now beginning to back up some of this ancient wisdom. Research has shown that cloves are packed with antioxidants, which help fight cellular damage. They also possess anti-inflammatory properties and may stimulate the secretion of digestive enzymes, which explains their traditional use as a digestive aid. It's a fantastic example of folk medicine having a solid basis in biochemical reality. Perhaps the most famous medicinal application for cloves, however, is in dental care. Anyone who has ever suffered from a toothache might be familiar with the old folk remedy of placing a whole clove against the sore tooth. This works because of eugenol's natural numbing and antiseptic properties. It temporarily dulls the pain and can help fight bacteria. This isn't just an old wives' tale. Eugenol is still used in modern dentistry in certain temporary fillings and dental cements. So, the next time you use a clove-infused toothpaste or mouthwash, you're tapping into a tradition of oral care that is centuries old and scientifically sound. Beyond the kitchen and the pharmacy, cloves hold significant cultural weight in societies all across the globe. Their role often transcends mere flavor, becoming a symbol of comfort, ritual, and even identity. In their native Indonesia, for example, cloves are famously mixed with tobacco to create kretek cigarettes, which are smoked by millions. The crackling sound of the burning cloves gives these cigarettes their name, and their distinct sweet aroma is an inescapable part of the sensory landscape in many Indonesian towns and cities. It's a practice that is deeply embedded in the local culture and economy. Moving across the world, cloves take on different but equally important roles. In the Middle East and parts of Africa, their powerful fragrance is harnessed in perfumes, incense, and pomanders. They are sometimes used in rituals intended to cleanse a space or ward off negative energy, their pungent smoke seen as a purifying agent. In the West, the scent of cloves is inextricably linked with the holiday season. Studding an orange with cloves to make a pomander is a classic Christmas craft, and the spice is a staple in mulled wine and festive baked goods. Here, the aroma of cloves evokes feelings of warmth, family, and nostalgic comfort during the darkest, coldest months of the year. From Indonesian cigarettes to Indian chai, from European holiday feasts to African perfumes, the clove has woven itself into the fabric of daily life and special occasions. It stands as a powerful example of how a single botanical product can be adopted and adapted by diverse cultures, each imbuing it with its own unique meaning and purpose. The journey of this spice is not just a story of trade and conquest, but also one of cultural exchange and assimilation. It's a true globetrotter, equally at home in a savory curry, a sweet pastry, or a sacred ritual. Now for a final, important note. While cloves are wonderfully beneficial, they are also incredibly potent. As we've established, they are packed with powerful chemical compounds like eugenol. This means they should be used with respect, and, most importantly, in moderation. While a dash in your pumpkin pie is perfectly fine, consuming large amounts, especially in the form of pure clove oil, can be toxic and potentially harmful, particularly to the liver. So, enjoy the incredible flavor, embrace the rich history, and appreciate the science. But as with all good things in the kitchen, use a discerning and careful hand. Now, go cook something.